The topic really is not as dull as what it appeared to be when it was read out. It's not just some, fat-free diet so that we can have a healthy and active life. Like I said, we've been doing this now 6 sessions in what we started first as the Indic way. And in the Indic way, we were able to share a lot of knowledge and wisdom that resides in our Indian Vedic literature and thinking. And when we finished that series in terms of different aspects which are useful for us as professionals running businesses in corporate life, it led to, hey, what specific aspects can we build in ourselves for us to fully capitalize on the knowledge we acquired during the Indic way. So before we get into it, I want to know how many of you are coming for this session or any of these sessions first time? Quite a few. Okay, good. So we'll very quickly give you a background leading up to where we are in today's session, and then take up more important in terms of what we need to deliver in this current session. So we did this in terms of many aspects that Ram and I have been exposed to and then have researched and understood. And like you know from our background, we have been and we are still in very active corporate life. It is all about then building businesses, domestic, international, different domains. While we were in that, one chance exposure, one talk, one lecture by Swami Parthasarathi triggered some thoughts in us separately. Not that at that time we started to talk about it, but there was a trigger. So I remember the specific statement that Swami Parthasarathi used, because his talk was on some aspect of Vedanta, but it wasn't that clicked as much as we were sitting in the first row. We were in Calcutta, we had an evening where we could spend some time, so we went for the talk. We were sitting in the first row, and part of what he said, you are all like headless chickens. The word he used. You are like headless chickens. And he said, I don't know whether you guys have seen a headless chicken. I haven't really speaking, but he described it and I can assume that it would be like that. So he said, when a chicken, when the head is chopped off, it still goes round and round with no sense of direction, no sense of purpose, no nothing, but it goes round and round. Says you guys are like that, absolutely not knowing what you guys are doing and how you guys are going to get to whichever place you want to get. And then he went on into his lecture, but that was enough to trigger some thought to say, there's something in our ancient, Vedic and subsequent literature and discussions which we need to understand. That's how it started. And then we found it was practical wisdom. And this was what we covered in the Indic way. To first say what this is not. Very important for us to understand what it is not, to open our minds to what it is. It's got nothing to do with religion. It's got nothing to do with belief in God. It's got nothing to do with prayer, worship, rituals. This is valid for us as human beings. So it's got no aspect of religion, belief in God, prayer, worship, ritual, temple, church, mosque, nothing. So we took to this because the practical wisdom from that in terms of how we can lead our lives as a human being and how I can become better and better in my ability to deal with life. A greater understanding therefore of what is life. Even if I need to know, I want to deal with life better and better, I must first know what the hell is life. If I don't know what is life, how can I come up then with a formula or a strategy on how to deal with life? Greater understanding of what is life, greater understanding therefore of what is it that I need to do to deal with life, towards what objective. All this got defined in the Indic way. Having done that, based on some feedback that we got, people were interested in knowing, hey, you guys mentioned a lot of things, but how do you actually do that? How do you control your mind? How can you let go of anger? How can you let go of disturbances that come in the way of me as an individual being effective? Effective in dealing with events and situations, effective in dealing with relationships. That led to the Indic gym. The parallel we took was that if we want to build physical muscles, we go to a physical gym. So I want to build my muscles, I will go to a gym. If I exercise there, probably my muscles will get built. Similarly, in this aspect of what we are calling the Indic muscles, we need to acquire certain muscles for us to become effective in how we can handle life, and therefore we got into identifying what are these muscles and how can we build them, or what is that fat which needs to get rejected from the system for us to tone up the muscles that we wish to build. So that's the aspect in which the Indic gym has been put together. Ram?
Good evening. So as JK said, it was a little bit of a wake-up call and we started reflecting. But the key was that we were in the middle of building a business. And my mother told me at that time, "Idella indha vayasula thevaya unakku." So what are you getting into all this? Get into it when you are retired. And forget about all this. Whereas we understood that the fundamental principle was how to be successful without a heart attack. Can we be stress-free and still be dynamic and successful? What is it? And we find that those who are really dynamic and driven seem to be stressed. And those who look a little more calm, we compare and say, maybe not enough material wealth maybe. So how do we get that balance of dynamic action without the stress that sometimes accompanies it? And many people misunderstand this as running away, not for success, not for wealth, not to acquire things, not to enjoy. That there is a guilt that if you had fun. And therefore we are saying this is not religion. The whole idea is how can we be successful, how can we be happy, how can we have fun, not feel guilty about it, and not be stressed out. And therefore what is it that we need to do? That's really what got us thinking. And then somebody once asked me whether I could help in creating a curriculum of Vedanta in management. And a few of us sat down and tried to put that together. And then when JK said to come and speak and tie to some of you, we thought let's experiment on you and then share that knowledge. So that's what we've been trying to do.
Okay, quickly. Therefore, the Indic gym has 6 sessions. We did the first one, which was just an introduction to the Indic gym, what it covers, and there we linked up to what we had covered in the Indic way, and we said this is clearly the gym is about building the muscles that we require, and that we will get into how to build these muscles in the subsequent session. So the first one was only what muscles, what do we do, and what is the parallel between the physical gym and this Indic gym in order for us to build muscles or to let go fat. So that was in session 1. In session 2, we straight away got into letting go anger. This is where we now started to say, hey, some things that we need to let go, something that we need to build. And we just took anger as the first because this is the most common enemy that comes in the way of performance. It comes in the way of our ability to deal with relationships, our ability to deal in events and situations that face us, especially in difficult events and situations. Anger is the first thing that surfaces. So we covered this aspect in detail on how to let go anger. And we came up with processes. I don't want to now spend more time beyond saying that we came up with the strategies with which it is possible for any one of us to minimize or completely let go anger in the different forms in which each one of us experiences and what. So we went into what causes it and what is it that we can do if we need to reduce, eliminate, attenuate, reduce its intensity, frequency, or the duration for which it bothers you. So we covered those. So we came up with the strategies. Then in the previous session we got into a far more important component, that it's our mind that comes in the way of a lot of things. Many of us here don't understand what our mind is. And because we don't understand what our mind is, there is no way we can control this monkey. So in the previous session we started with this: can I control my mind? And we took this question and we said this question has 3 important words that we need to understand. First, the mind. If we don't understand what the mind is, how can we come up with a strategy to control it? Second is control. What do we mean by control? The third is I. Who is this I who wishes to control? So we covered these 3 to give us a very clear understanding of how we can control the mind by understanding the nature of the mind, who is in control, and how to control the mind. So that's where we have come to. So we're going to now straight away get into one of the most important aspects that we need to build, why we do things, that is equanimity. So we want to get into, in this session, what is equanimity? Is equanimity possible? Why is equanimity important? Who is this person? Can we define this person who has equanimity? And towards equanimity, what is it that we need to let go? What is it that we need to build? How do we let go? And how do we build? This is the scope of the 2 sessions that are going to cover equanimity, of which in part 1 we will cover up to how to let go fear. With that we'll stop. The rest we are going to take up only in the next session on equanimity. Towards what? All of that towards performance. So first we'll start with this straight away. What is our understanding of equanimity? Anybody? Anyone wants to start off? If we say equanimity, what comes to mind or what do we understand?
Balance of emotion.
Balance is a nice word. Balance of emotion.
Treating everybody without a bias.
Without a bias, lovely way of putting it.
Looking at, even if there are disturbances, to be focused at what we have to do in spite of the disturbances.
So not allowing disturbances to come in the way of what you need to do is a nice way of looking at it.
Internal balance despite external situations.
Internal balance despite external
situations.
Yeah.
Staying calm.
Staying calm certainly is a manifestation of a person with equanimity. Yes, certainly.
Observing our thoughts without any bias.
Without any bias. I think KK also mentioned that. Yes.
Observing our thoughts.
Observing our thoughts without any bias. Okay. Good. I think our understanding of equanimity is what it is in terms of, therefore, that balance, that ability for us to remain undisturbed in different situations, and we're going to get into it to see what it is and whether that's possible as we go forward. But I just want to pause to go back to one aspect which we established when we started to talk of the Indic chip. Because we always found that if we take a parallel between our body layer and then move into our mind layer, it's a little easier for us to then say how to relate to it. So if we say in the body layer, let us say there are a couple of aspects that we need to let go. I'm just taking two more as a random example. I want to say that we are all affected by body odor and bad breath. Meaning it surfaces in everybody. If you are a human being, it surfaces in you. Therefore, in the body layer, there is body odor, there is bad breath. If I say we need to let go, what comes to your mind? What can we do?
Have a wash.
Absolutely. So we clean. Cleansing has to be done every day. But the body odor is a natural process, bad breath is a natural process, it is the part of how we are as a human being. But before cleansing, there is one aspect which is important, that we are first aware. We are first aware that we have body odor or we have bad breath. Second, I wish to do something about it. I am aware. I wish to do something about it, therefore I cleanse. Then I do it every day, I do it twice a day, I do whatever, that's all next to individual choices. But all of us are afflicted by it. If I need to do something, I am aware, I wish to do something, and then I do something. So we are saying the same parallel in the mind. Same parallel in a lot of things that we say we need to let go. If I need to say, I need to let go of anger. Like bad breath and body odor, anger arises in everybody. Anger arises in everybody. If I want to let go of anger, the first two aspects which we defined in the body layer is important. I must become aware that I become angry. Then I wish to do something to reduce or let go anger. If without these two, the third and the fourth strategy saying I want to cleanse myself every day is not going to happen. So we said those aspects are important. So that parallel we are bringing again to say in anything, therefore, this awareness that it is there and I wish to do something is an important prerequisite for us to go into what we said. So, have you experienced it? I'm sure you all met people who can be. Ramraj has this example, so I'm going to allow him to expand a little bit more, where he says, look, have you seen Dhoni operate? Have you seen Kohli operate? On go.
I don't think you need to say more than that.
Yeah.
Captain Cool, as he's called. And what a difference. Similar situations, you're going to see them soon. Similar situations, what a difference. And in that process, look at the facial expression. Of course, Miss Fielder, look at the face from one, look at the face of the other. So soon you will see that the players are not looking at their task. Players are looking towards the captain. What is his expression? So am I going to do my best or am I looking to see his reaction? Look at where quality of action starts suffering. Just on that Captain Cool. Look what it has done to Australia. And we'll go into that a little more. But just look at behavior change of the team with your equanimity. Cool or not? Both are wanting to win. It is not that they don't want to win. Both have great winning record. Both handle it differently. Look where the respect is. So look where the effectiveness is. And look where the players are and how they feel motivated. They just focus on their task. They're not looking to see, is there a face there? So that is what we thought is that experience that we're going to be seeing in the next week or so of both the captains. So
Have we exhibited it? How often each one of us to examine for ourselves, and then only we become open to saying, hey, what is it that I need to do if I wish to exhibit this far more frequently, if it needs to become part of me as a person in some form. And I want to take two aspects to establish this. I want to take the analogy of a luxury sedan first, and then I want to talk to you about the story of Palita and Lomosa, which I'm sure Akila has heard a couple of times already in earlier sessions, but it's a wonderful story which will bring across what is equanimity. So we'll first take the luxury sedan. In a luxury sedan, what is important? Anybody? Lovely car, what is important?
Driving comfort.
Very nice, excellent. So, comfortable drive is the first. Anything else?
Classy. A classy look.
Classy look, nice. Yeah? Status appeal, okay. No, but that is external, I would say, Raman. If you really, from the performance of the vehicle, yes, the status side is an external thing, but from the performance side, there's some aspects. Suspension, okay, you're getting into the details, yes, certainly.
Safety.
Safety, all of those, certainly. Certainly, yeah. So, if it drives well on an autobahn, is that good enough? Meaning, autobahn is a freeway. Nobody there to trouble you. You can just go. It does well on an autobahn. Is that good enough? No. On city roads, under traffic conditions, potholes, speed breakers, curves and bends, in the brakes and the brakes, isn't it? I mean, when you're saying comfortable drive, it's not comfortable drive in a clear autobahn, nobody on that road, fully available to yourself, you can go at any speed, you can do what you want. That is not a pleasurable drive. Doesn't establish a pleasurable drive. But its ability, therefore, in the twists and turns, the potholes and speed breakers, in the traffic and in all of that, in the heat and the dust, that is far more important in terms of drawing the parallel, therefore, of life's journey and the journey that you have in this luxury vehicle. So when we are saying comfortable drive, it is still comfortable drive, but under all sorts of situations and conditions. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah? Ram?
Yeah, I'm a great businessman. I don't get angry, except GST. Except demonetization. So that's what it is. And it is no longer if a challenge will come. Today, I think everybody is trying their best to make sure when a challenge will come. So, therefore, at that time, how are you? That's what, it's not just autobahn. You're all fantastic drivers on that fancy freeway. One speed breaker, one curve, one kid running across, and then let's see how we are. One auto driver in front of you.
What do we do when stationary? When the vehicle is stationary, what is important? Security, absolutely. First, that it is stable. 4 wheels, not one wheel which is flat, whatever. When it's stationary, we take care of it, we clean it. To a large extent, we clean outside. Very rarely will we open the bonnet or open the dick and clean it. So we clean it. Stability, all those are important when stationary. When idling, absolutely. Rattle-free, powerful engine. Noise-free in terms of the aspects, but therefore when idling, certainly there's some other aspect that comes in. But even while idling, there's a cooling system which needs to operate even while idling. Which means the engine oil in circulation is important, your radiator, fan, and the air cooling that it can give you is important. So even while idling, there's a cooling system which becomes important, not necessary when it is stationary. But there's something else which is needed when it is idling. When in motion, in traffic, on the freeway, now what? Now what is it? Fuel efficiency is more, what do you look for in a, towards that comfortable drive or towards that, there are some aspects which are important. What do you think?
Just the smoothness of, when you keep changing speed.
Yep. Anything else?
Transition.
We're going to look at that. So now, this is now moving, when in motion in traffic on the freeway, there's an aspect of control, which is not there when you're idling. That's all I'm coming to. When stationary, no cooling system. Like that Beetle movie, I forget what that's called. Herbie goes bananas or something. It has a mind of its own. Let's say there was no steering. It just goes where it wants. What do you think is our aspect, the same equivalent of steering system in us? Absolutely. So the power of the steering system, without which you're not able to get that pleasurable drive, you have no ability to do the curves and the bends and other things, equivalent in us. And we are moving to saying, how do you make sure that the steering system works well? I'm telling you, all of us have driven car. If your accelerator doesn't work, is that a big problem?
No.
Not as big a problem as if your brakes don't work, right? Correct?
Yes.
So what is the braking system? What is its equivalent in us? And how equanimity is helping us to make sure all these systems are helping towards a pleasurable drive through life. That's our whole analogy in some form. Now, somebody was saying about the suspension system earlier, right? Shock absorber. Yeah. Anybody want to define the suspension system? What happens if there is no suspension in the car? You tell me something and I'm going to blow up. I'm getting angry all the time. I have no suspension system in me. One, I blow. Something, I scream. Something else, I cry. Something else, I'm dejected. Like Trump. Okay. But anything that I come across in life, anything that I come across on the road, immediately is transmitted to me with no suspension shock absorber system, and I'm jolting all the time. What does the suspension system do and the shock absorber system do? While all the jolts are happening at the wheel level, the wheel is still doing all that. Nothing is passed on to you as a passenger. That's the power of the suspension system. What is its equivalent for us? So we covered that when. Why do we get angry? Why do we get angry? Anybody wants to take a guess? We get angry because we have no suspension system. If I had the ability to build a suspension system inside me, with the shock absorbers that are necessary to cushion between what is happening outside and what is happening inside, by the time it reaches me, lots of things have already been absorbed, and I have the ability to respond far more appropriately than if I don't have a suspension system inside me. Equivalent of the suspension system. Ram? Do you think it's important? Oh, very waste, like exhaust system. I don't know how many of you have heard, but Ram, in the good old days, there was one joke that used to go around saying, any asshole can become boss. You have heard that? How many of you know that story? You wanna share that with? Please go ahead. No, it's an important thing.
No, please go ahead.
Anybody wishes to share? Who knows? Aman? You know, but you don't want to share. No, but exhaust system, if the exhaust system is blocked in a car, power will become zero. In good old days, I don't know how many of you have driven with scooters and all that, Lambretta, or Bajaj, Vespa, whatever. If the exhaust system is clogged, it will go off. You raise nothing like that. But the exhaust system is so important for us to get the power. So, similar, if this is clogged, zero exhaust, fully blocked, cannot function. What is that exhaust system? How do we make sure that the exhaust system is working? So we won't share with you, but you can check it out saying how anybody can become boss. And this is another thing. But there's a far more important aspect than any of these systems. Anybody wants to take a guess? All these systems are necessary for the pleasurable drive in the luxury sedan. But there's something far, far more important than all of these. Anybody?
Driver, the right driver.
100%. So the manner in which it is driven, all these controls are there. Like many controls are there within our human body mind system. But the manner in which I drive, okay, I'm in the BMW, I'm still racing, dragging. Where is the pleasurable drive? There is no pleasurable drive. It may have the best of all these control systems, but a moron behind the wheel who doesn't know how to make sure that he or she is maneuvering or driving this particular vehicle, there is no way you will have an enjoyable, pleasurable, comfortable journey. So, who is the person and the manner in which it is driven is far more important than the fact that all these systems are there. All you want to share is similar systems exist in us. We don't know how to drive. Because we don't know how to drive, we do not utilize any one of these systems, and so we are not able to have a comfortable journey through life. That's the analogy.
Do you agree?
Yes. Sir, I'm sorry, I didn't get what is the steering system and braking system equivalent
In us.
in us.
Now, in the earlier aspect, when we covered the mind session, I don't know whether you were there in that session. So we have, what is steering us? Which is the guiding force which gives you the ability for a sense of direction? Huh?
So just look at, and I was telling you about Australian cricket, which has been in the paper. Their steering system had just gone berserk. Imagine captain and the vice captain plotting to use sandpaper and hoping not to get caught with some 40 cameras, which means definitely the steering system that drives them. What is it that they said? We need to win. How to win? What lost? So the purpose was winning. The means is how you get there, which is proper steering, was missing. And therefore you end up not playing for a year. And more than that is your reputation is just gone. So that's what happens. So coming back to this, how do we know we are driving properly? How? How? Today.
When the co-passengers enjoy the ride.
Correct. Very nice. Very nice.
Relationship.
Very nice. Absolutely.
And that is relationship. In the first session we had said our life is situational and relationships. Relationships. Acid test is how to. So that is one. Anybody else? This side?
No accidents.
No accidents in life. Anyway.
How do you yourself enjoy the ride?
Yes. So one way is when we come back, end of the day, how many times we say, oh shucks, I wish I had not said that. I wish I had done that. Regret for an action, for an inaction, for an outburst, for a lack of response, something missing, and we say, oh shucks, I was not able to do it at that time in the right manner. And that is really what we are trying to see. The whole purpose of this series is self-development. How can we be better in responding to situations and relationships? How can we be better? That's what we are trying to do. And each time, at the end of the day, when we take stock, less regret. Less reason to say, oh shucks. And more reasons to say, wow. And that's really the reflection of what we're doing.
Lovely little story, few minutes. This is from the Mahabharata. It's one of the stories that Bhishma shares with Yudhishthira for a question that he asked, but that's not important as the story itself. In the middle of the forest, there is a huge banyan tree. And in this banyan tree, many birds, animals, etc., live. It's a huge, huge tree. At the bottom of a tree, in its own hole, lives a mouse called Palita. And on the tree branches, there lives a cat called Lomasa. They've been there many years. And then suddenly there's a hunter who starts to come to this particular forest. And every night the hunter will lay his traps. And come the next day morning, and some birds or animals will get caught, and therefore the hunter will take it and go away. One night he had come, laid his nets on top of the ground, and Lomasa the cat, while looking for some food, gets attracted to the meat which is there on the nets, and as it's eating it, its legs get caught in those leather strings trap which he has laid. Palita, observing that its main enemy now is under a difficult situation, becomes a little bored, and so it's going around while looking for food, finds that there is meat on top of the net which has been laid out, so it climbs onto that and is very happily eating those pieces of meat. Not observing that another enemy of the mouse, the mongoose, has come from its own hole, attracted by the smell of the mouse, and it's come sitting on its haunches, waiting to see if this mouse will get down and it can gobble it up. And then Palita also looks up and finds that the night owl, which is another enemy of the mouse, has come, sitting on the branches, now starting to look at Palita, and any time ready to swoop down, catch it and gobble it up in some form. So Palita is thinking, hey, what have I got myself into? Why did I heedlessly just come out just because Lomasa is caught in the trap? And I'm in such a dangerous situation. 3 of my enemies, Lomasa here right in front of me, the mongoose on the ground, and the night owl on top. What do I do? And it thinks to itself, a person with equanimity never succumbs to the dangers that surround him, but must use his intelligence to come up with a solution in any dangerous situation, especially when it means safeguarding my life. So as it is thinking, it thinks to itself and say, the only thing which appeals to me is I must somehow make friendship with one of my enemies. And only if I can make friendship with one of my enemies, I have any opportunity now to get out of the situation. And in my assessment, as I see, Lomasa is in danger of its own life, because tomorrow morning the hunter will come and take it away because it's caught in the trap. And I can do something to help Lomasa get out of this particular trap, and therefore logically it seems to me that I must make friendship with Lomasa to see if I can get out of the situation. And then it thinks for itself to say, not only is Lomasa in distress, I have the ability to get Lomasa out of this distress, which I don't have as far as the mongoose or the owl is concerned. So very logical for me that I must make a pact with Lomasa. So it tells Lomasa that, Lomasa, I hope you're well. I want you to live well. You and I have been on this tree for many years. We know each other. And I really pray that you are able to get out of this particular situation. You are in a tough situation. And please understand, I can help you get out of this tough situation, because you know I can bite these knots that have been tied and set you free. Yet, I myself am in danger, because the mongoose has come ready to gobble me up if I climb down, and the night owl is there waiting to swoop and take me off, and you are also aware of that. So in this situation, intelligent people will think in terms of forming a friendship for mutual benefit, so that we may each get out of the difficulty that we are in. Lomasa says, well said, my friend, as I expect from an intelligent person like you. So I am very open to listening to what is that arrangement that you wish to propose. So Palita says, I wish to propose that I come and hide under your body for some time till both the mongoose and the owl disappear, and then I will be able to bite and free you from the knots that have tied you up. And if we therefore, for this temporary period, form this friendship for mutual benefit, I think that is what intelligent people need to do. Lomasa says, well done, come. And so Palita goes, hides under the body of the cat. The mongoose looks and says, hey, what is this strange thing? They have formed a friendship. There is no way I can get to this mouse as long as he's being protected by the cat. The owl looks and says, hey, waste of time, my sitting here, I might as well go after some prey somewhere else. And so they both go away in search of other prey. And Palita comes out from under the cat and starts to slowly nibble at the knots that are tying Lomasa. So Lomasa says, hey, free me up quickly. Why are you taking so much time? Don't now cheat on me. I have already saved your life. Don't keep any of our old enmity in mind to now get after whatever it is. Fulfill your side of it. Palita says, look, everything has to be done in its own time. If I free you now, your mind will be on gobbling me up. I will wait till the hunter is spotted. And when the hunter is coming, if I free you, your mind will be on escaping, and therefore I will wait till early morning when the hunter comes. So when the hunter comes, when it's spited, Lomasa is saying, hey, come, do it, and therefore cuts it. And Lomasa goes off, climbing the tree. Palita goes back into the home. That's the story of Palita and Lomasa, where equanimity and using its senses, not losing its wits, helps Palita to get out of a situation in terms of what it is. So that story is in a context of something else, which Yudhishthira is discussing and asking Bhishma, but it clearly establishes the power of keeping our wits under control, being equanimity as the basis in tough situations for us to perform in life.
Any CEO comes in mind? of late? Managing crisis.
Nestle,
Okay, what is the crisis?
Maggie crisis,
Maggie, what happened? Managed, not managed.
managed.
Did not manage. Did not manage. When Maggie happened, and I give you an example why I say did not happen. When Maggie happened, they started defending that there is no lead or there is no whatever in it. Which mother, once you are told that there is something not okay, is going to see some certificate and believe you? So therefore all sales just fell, reputation fell. They had to take all stock out of the shelves and then come back. They ought to have done that day one. We are Nestle. If you think there is a problem, take it off. Then come back with certificates and proofs saying we are good for you, there is nothing wrong. And to prove that, I think I mentioned this. J&J, there is one of the most popular tablets is Tylenol. Headache, whatever. Somebody in New Jersey in one small town pharmacy put cyanide into one of those capsules and somebody died having Tylenol. So the debate at the board was, should we take out from that street, that locality, New Jersey, and they were debating because it was $300 million of Tylenol stock in the US. And there was debate going on till the chairman walked in and he said, what are you guys debating? They said, where to withdraw it from? He said, what do you mean where to withdraw it from? Withdraw it all. Now, $300 million. He said, doesn't matter. Now, when they came back with child-proof caps and all that kind of stuff, overnight went back to being number one. Crisis management, equanimity. And what is the underlying thing that keeps you focused is core value. If you have core value, that becomes your anchor during crisis. It is the core value that makes you act when you are stressed. Otherwise, you are buffeted in the wind. There are enough things pulling you. And I go back to that Australian example. That core value was not there. And therefore, when you get tempted, then you're buffeted. And your decision is gone. And that is how core value. J&J had a credo. I thought it was a piece of paper on the wall. Till you see this. Decision driven by core value. Then you are anchored.
Okay, is equanimity possible? All very theory. All nice to have, yeah, who can write all this. What do you think?
Have you seen my boss? How can I be ever equal?
No way.
Hysterical guy.
So I'll tell you, I'll list out when it is possible. And I have plenty of money. Correct? Agree?
Yeah.
Plenty of comforts. This and this. I want A and B. Then maybe I can have equanimity. Plus, no worries. Right? A plus B plus C, good chance that I can achieve this. Plus, no responsibility. Right? If I have A plus B plus C plus D, 100% or close to 100%, nothing will bother me. Unlimited enjoyment, pink of health. A to F, I'm 100% certain nothing can bother me. Would you agree? No.
Long life.
Also.
Hopefully this will get you there.
So you're saying, when you're saying equanimity, it is when whether this is there, not there, something else happens. then is it not possible? Any one of this is missing, then it is not possible. We are saying it's possible even if any of A to F, all of them are there, not there, there to some extent, not there to some extent. This is what life is all about. I wish that everybody could be rich and famous so that they can see for themselves that's not the answer. Lovely statement, I know. I'm just going back to say, therefore, if all of that was there, it's possible. And here's this guy saying, probably that's not the answer. So why equanimity? What's going to do? It's a weakness, yeah. All very bullshit. You have to be like that, quiet. What? You can't be effective like that. It won't work in this world. Not valid for Kali Yuga. Agree? Would you agree? A guy who possesses equanimity, ineffective.
No drive.
No drive, nothing he wants to achieve. He's on sannyasi, sitting somewhere, not needing to do anything. You think so? Which is why we shared that story of Palita. Palita is very driven at that point in time. Palita has a very clear objective. I need to get out of this situation which threatens my life. I'm going to do something. And I'm coming up with things. Not perturbed, not disturbed that my life is under threat. No disturbance, removes all disturbance. Brings focus, energy to come up with what it needs to do, puts it into action. And so, equanimity has nothing to do with just because the person may appear like Dhoni saying, hey, Mr. Cool. It's not that Mr. Cool is not driven. It's not that Mr. Cool is in any way less driven to go after victory, and that only Kohli, with his way in which he manifests his different aspects, is going after victory. Nothing different. This guy has far greater energy, far greater focus in order to move towards the same thing. So it's not a weakness. Towards what purpose? Control. Over whom? Yes, absolutely. Over what? All situations. 100%. 100%. We used this term last time when we spoke of the mind. So I just want to give you what we mean by discipline. So I put you when nobody is watching. I will do the right thing. We spoke of the mind as a pet, and we said a pet needs to go through 4 stages. A pet needs to be trained. Then you command it so that it will do whatever you train. Then you control it. And then it is disciplined. That it then needs no control by itself. It performs in a certain way. So we're talking of that disciplined mind as what it is. Balance we have seen, free from disturbance, focus, objectivity, performance, and there's only one thing I've missed out. Anything else you think important? All of this is for life. All of this for what we're doing on a day-to-day thing with things that face us, the way we're going to respond. Anything else important?
Better judgment.
For us to be happy, peaceful, undisturbed. That's really what it leads us to. So why equanimity?
Both.
Yeah.
Performance and
Yeah. Okay, quickly, we are going to who is this person? I'm going to share with you only for 2 minutes because we want to move into an important component of how to let go of fear as one of the things we want to cover today, and we have half an hour still to go. There's a lovely conversation between Krishna and Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, which summarizes certain aspects of the person right thing to do or not to fight, and Krishna is talk to him to say, you need to do your duty, and this is a righteous thing, this is according to dharma, and therefore this is not the time for you to buckle down. Blah blah blah, different levels at which he starts to talk to him to bring Arjuna back into what he needs to do. So after he does that, one of the things he ends his sort of dialogue by saying, and a person therefore who is fully in control of his wisdom would be in a position to go after the chosen action that he needs to perform, not worried about the fruits of those actions, but at all points of time clear that action that needs to be done and not at any time get affected by the fruits of those actions. That's where he finishes. And therefore Arjuna, and he says that person is the Sthita Prajna. Sthita in Sanskrit means established, firm. Prajna is wisdom. So Sthita Prajna is a person whose wisdom is well established. And when the wisdom is well established, this person then has the ability that he has no disturbances, and his focus and his ability then to do various things that he needs to do is far greater. So he says that person I call Sthita Prajna. And then Arjuna says, okay, tell me, who is this Sthita Prajna? What are her characteristics? How does he walk, talk, behave and engage with the world? And in about 6 or 7 verses, Krishna describes the characteristics of the Sthita Prajna. And then he goes on to say what happens if you are not in control. Then another few verses in that particular chapter. But very clear in terms of the definition of this characteristics of this person who has equanimity as something he or she has achieved. Free from desires is an important aspect. See, I want this itself is a disturbed mind. So when that gets arrested, he says it's the first thing that calms you and brings stability. Reduce that particular noise in terms of what you need to do. Self-satisfied is a term that he uses. Then therefore, I'm not looking for something external in terms of reinforcing something that I need to do, what people think, what people don't think, etc. But it's more self-satisfied, not too attached, undisturbed in troubled times, not overly exerted in happy times. So both these are important. This was the crux. Free from anger, fear, likes and dislikes. And this is what we are going to take up to say, how do we make sure that we can get free from anger, fear, likes and dislikes. So neither hates nor rejoices in the ups and downs, and therefore he has the ability to focus with objectivity, energy to go after whatever he needs to. Ram?
The same thing, I'm sure many of you know this poem, If.
Next.
Okay. So, similar, all philosophers, all teachings are saying, how do you how do you keep your head equanimous? Not only are they losing theirs, but blaming it on you. This is what happens when there's a crisis. Not only are you, I told you shouldn't be doing this. Blame it on you. So they also lose and they blame it on you. So you're not jumping up or down, and you are steadfast, whether up or down. Win a match, lose a match. It doesn't mean that you are not feeling. It just means your response. You're not too elated that you don't know what's happening, or too depressed that you again don't know what's happening. So that's what it is. This is relationship. All about relationship. Moderation.
This is a lovely poem by Rudyard Kipling. You can see from this the parallels between whatever it is of Sthita Prajna. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, then you are somebody. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat both those imposters, he words to use imposter. Triumph is an imposter, disaster is an imposter. They are temporary. And if you can be the same in both those, not attached to anybody so much that it bothers you. Yours is the earth and everything that's in it. Rudyard Kipling, he spent many years in India, and probably it was an influence in terms of some of these ideas that he's put together.
Is that possible? To meet triumph and disasters. But for you all nod off, that's right, but some response.
Triumph is possible.
Definitely.
I mean, that's what Dhoni does. Right? Whether he win or lose, they say he just walks off and sits in the car.
Like, takes the stump and then maybe it doesn't work.
One more very similar. Ram, you want to go ahead? Another lovely poem, Robert Browning, called The Village Preacher. I'm going to only take a few sentences from that to establish. The Village Preacher is about this preacher in a small local church. And maybe just a few families in the village, but this preacher, in the manner he engages with his flock, is able to make sure that all their problems, and all of them have different issues. They're all a poor section of the society, different day-to-day issues, and he's with them to make sure that in their joys and sorrows, he's able to lift them up. If they are down, he will participate in joy when there is something. He's a center, and everybody gets their hope, their spirits up because of the village preacher. And he describes him to say that Reverend Champion stood, and at his control, despair and anguish fled the struggling soul. All struggling souls, as far as the villagers were concerned, and this Reverend was able to make sure that all of that was removed. And when they described this guy, their welfare pleased him, and their cares distressed. He was genuinely involved with the people. Their welfare pleased him. Their cares distressed him. So he was very much with them. To them, his heart, his love, his griefs were given. So he was very involved with each one of them. But all his serious thoughts had rested in heaven. As some tall cliff that lifts its awful form, swells from the valley, and midway leaves the storm, though round its breast the rolling clouds are spread, eternal sunshine settles on his head. Amidst problems, here, nothing here. Describes that village preacher in the manner in which, therefore, he is able to, while in the midst of all that, able to be at a level.
This line is important. All the serious thoughts at rest in heaven. Doesn't mean heaven for us. It really means, is there a purpose? What gets us up in the morning? Is there something we want to achieve? Is it just mundane activity, go to work, write code and come back? Or is there a purpose? What are we getting up? What footprint do we want to leave? Is that something driving us? If we have a sense of purpose and our thoughts are resting there, then triumph, disaster, good, bad, ugly, we manage. But that sense of purpose is what gets us up on a Monday morning. And do we have it? If we don't, I think it may be time to reflect on what should our purpose be. Whatever, anything, nothing saying lofty, but a sense of purpose that gets you out of bed cheerfully Monday morning.
Okay, so towards equanimity, what to let go? Anger and fear. Anxiety and regret, likes and dislikes, attachments. This is what we need to let go. This is the fat side of it which we need to let go in order to build equanimity. Anger, we will come to how to do it later. What is it we need to build? A strong mind, like Palita. A mind under control. Power of the intellect, which is one part of the mind, but we're going to spend time on saying how do we build this, because that gives us the ability to discriminate. Power of choice, power which shapes will and determination. So power of the intellect, power of Sattva. We have 3 gunas and we're going to spend some time to understand how do we build on Sattva, which then gives us equanimity. So these are things to build. So I'm just saying things to let go and things to build. We will quickly get into how to let go, of which we are going to get into fear now, because anger we already covered in one of the sessions. So for those who have not been here, we'll later try to summarize. So we want to cover what causes fear and how do we let go. So I'll start with this. Do we get afraid?
Yes.
Of what? Of what?
Fear of failure, fear
Very
of
nice.
success.
Very nice.
Wife.
Pardon?
Wife.
Wife, yes, certainly. No, certainly, absolutely, you're right. Spouse.
Uncertainty.
Uncertainty, very right.
Uncertainty.
Absolutely. Perceived threats, absolutely. Situations like that. Yes, do we get afraid? What causes fear? When do we get scared? So, like all of you said, first is difficult, dangerous situations. Like what Palita was in. A difficult, dangerous situation. Many of us are in many difficult situations. It could be financial, it could be health, it could be relationships. Many difficult situations or dangerous situations certainly causes fear. We are scared of people sometimes. Lots of children, I don't know, I don't want to go to school, my miss will scold me. The fear, especially of people in authority. For some reason, in some way, so whether it's your boss, it's your something, your spouse, there is fear in some way, people in power, authority. Like somebody said, certainty, fear of the unknown, uncertainty is a fear. Fear of failure, not meeting expectations. Broadly, these are the things that cause fear. Do you agree?
There could be 2 more. One is fear of success. Another is lack of control of a difficult situation.
Okay. So some of those you are saying that the negative of that at some time may cause fear in some day if I am not in control. Yeah. We'll quickly get into the strategies for fear. So when we are talking of fear, we are not saying it's about the fear of a snake or of a fear when there's a tiger in front of you. We're not talking those. That is an instinctive fear. It's an animal reaction in us of a flight or fight sort of situation. And we're not talking that fear. In that fear, you need to do again. With only if you have equanimity, even in that sort of a situation, you will know how to respond and what to do. So we're not talking of that. In any one of these other ones, there's a lovely example that I read in terms of a strategy where he refers to it as fear as a messenger. The example he gives is this. If you treat fear as a messenger, that is, this feeling of fear has come, whatever it is, whether you saw a snake or whether it is, I'm worried about what will happen next, I'm uncertain, whatever, there is fear. If you treat fear as a messenger, which means therefore, the courier boy brings a courier letter to you. The right thing for you to do is receive the letter, sign whatever document, and send him off. If you invite him into your house and say, okay, sit here, spend some time. And if you say, okay, now stay with me for a few days, then you are no more at the level where you are only taking the message but you're living with the messenger. So the person here who says, treat fear as only that messenger gives the message, and after that send him off and deal with what you need to do to address this aspect that the message, and what do I do next with that message. So fear as a messenger, and the strategies in terms of how you combat them. The first one is called preparedness or action. This is important, which means the more prepared we are, any one of this, whether it's health, it's financial, it's something, the more prepared we are, the more our ability to handle fear. Fear fades when facts are faced. Many here, I know, lots of my friends. So suddenly you get to know that you have diabetes. Okay. It's a scary thing. Fear fades when fact, okay, so it is so. Well, what can I do? Okay, you consult, you do something, you come up with a process. Okay, I'm broke. I'm not going to have any money this month to pay salary to my people. Fear fades when, so you face that itself, the fear will go away. You are no more, hey, what will I do, what will I do, no money, no money, no money. You are no more in that, but you are going to move to, okay, what can I do now? So the strategy in terms of handling is preparedness and anticipation. Fear fades when facts are faced. Knowledge is an important thing to acquire to handle fear, because we have understood what is causing the fear. We need to get whatever knowledge. I use diabetes more as an example because, okay, you know, the first thing that you do is what all is done. How is this controlled? How is this managed? What do I need to do? All the steps that I need to do. The torchlight of knowledge is the next step that you take in order to combat fear. Most important is concerted action after all of this. The steps that I need to do next, to start to do those, you're automatically handling everything that causes fear, because you've moved it from fear, received that message. Yes, this scares me. That's what it means by receiving the message. Yes, this scares me. But you're no more in that saying, hey, yes, this scares me. I've already moved. Okay, now what all can I do? Either I'm already prepared and therefore in some way I know how to respond. If I'm not already prepared, these other three automatically get me to overcome that fear, and I've moved away from fear to doing something about it for me to combat whatever that is. So the strategies to letting go fear or minimize fear or handle fear will come back to these.
I don't know if you remember JK's first case that he mentioned of somebody coming to the airport for going to Ahmedabad for a very serious, important presentation. Boss was already in Ahmedabad waiting, and he was to take the flight early morning to go join. And from Delhi, fog, flight indefinitely delayed. And his immediate reaction was to scream at everyone, because he's really terrified of consequences. So fear surfaced. He lost his equanimity. He had no idea. He shouted at the counter girl, called up the secretary at 4 in the morning, shouted at her, why couldn't you have thought of another flight? Couldn't you have done something else? Everything, shouting, screaming, because did not face the fact that the flight was not going to take off. Nothing is going to take off for him. It was fog. Once he realized that the flight is not going to take off, then he starts thinking, oh, what else can I do? Can I send the presentation to somebody else there? Can I reach it to my boss somehow? So maybe he can make it. But till you do this, you don't think of an action. You're here in denial mode and doing everything but what next? What should I do now to retrieve that situation? Because I'm terrified of the consequences. So I've lost control of the situation, my mind, and don't know what to do. So I blame people, I shout, but I'm not acting to what next. All of us need to know what next. What do we do next? Once this we face, then we are able to do this. Till we face this, there is no action.
So that's it. To summarize, anger and fear, for some of you who didn't attend anger, the prescriptions approaches we first said is acceptance. Like, for example, in anger, first is acknowledgement, anger is arising. Awareness that anger is arising. Awareness that fear, I am scared. There's something that bothers me. Awareness is the first step. Awareness is at that level where we said like a messenger, the message has reached me. Yes, I am now alerted. In anger it's a little different. So anger is arising. We covered 4 strategies for letting go anger. I don't want to again cover that, but for some who are interested we can do that later. The 4 strategies for letting go of fear which we covered in this session. This 100% important. Actually, this is the cause for anger to surface. Anger surfaces in a lot of which we covered in the earlier session. What causes anger? We summarized it to say all anger happens because he said something. She did something. He didn't say something. She didn't say something. It happened. It should not have happened. It should have happened. All our causes of anger is outside of us. Whereas anger is still arising in us. And we said, who's got the remote? Everybody around you seems to have a remote, and if they click it, you jump and you have anger. So in that session we covered to say, remove the remote from everybody else and see if the remote is with you. Then it's your choice whether I wish to get angry, I don't wish to get angry. By choice. Ramraj has this very famous thing which he says, do you use your temper or lose your temper? Or lose your temper or use your temper? One of those. So it's by choice. But that's different. But otherwise, the whole session we said, hey, remove the remote from everybody else around you and see if you can have it. Then that's a way for us to control anger. So we had reducing self-importance, reducing expectation, expect less, accept more, anger will automatically vanish. Those are what we covered between last session and now in terms of letting go both anger and fear. I found the secret to life. I'm okay when everything is not okay.
I have a question. So